Okay, let's sing. Yahweh is the reason.
Oh, he's the reason
that we were born.
that I was born.
Joshua's the answer.
Oh, he's the answer.
We all been looking for.
Yeah.
All the others, they stood around in line.
Oh, they lied.
Yes, they did. But now we know Yahshua
Oh,
that takes us so satisfied.
yeah, I'm so satisfied.
Sing it, choir.
We got some wisdom.
We got Yahshua's wisdom.
We got
Yahshua is the truth.
We got some
He's got plenty of beauty.
We got some fruit.
He's all kinds of fruit now.
And in the meantime,
Oh, that means right now.
that he's inside.
That means right now the Holy Spirit tabernacles inside.
Now I know
Now
Yahshua.
we know Yahshua. That makes us satisfied. Thank you, Yahshua. You made us satisfied.
Yeah.
Thank you, choir. Our first speaker for this evening will be our Vice President, Dr. Tom D. Tripp.
Good day. We thank Yahshua for another day to preach the gospel, preach a sweet gospel. And we come down in these schools to learn of Yahweh through his son, Yahshua the Messiah, whom the world does not know, whom the world does not want to know, and they are satisfied with what they are immersed in, unrighteousness. And Yahweh called us out from the world so we can learn of him, because we are his chosen bride, and he wants us to learn of him and know him. And that's why we come down in this school. And this pictorial illustration that is before you is a product of a divine vision that was given to Dr. Henry Clifford Kinley in the year 1931. And this divine vision was proof that Dr. Kinley, that Yahweh gave it to Dr. Kinley, he proved it by Moses here on top of Mount Sinai in 1490 BY, and the Apostle John here on the Isle of Patmos in AD 96. Would you give for me Isaiah 8:20?
Isaiah 8:20.
Mm-hmm.
To the law and to the testimony.
To the law and to the testimony. Read.
If they speak not according to this word.
If they speak not according to this word, we're talking about Yahweh Elohim. Read.
It is because there is no light in them.
There is no light, no understanding. Give for me Exodus 25:8-9 and 1 Corinthians 15.
Exodus 25:8-9.
Mm-hmm.
And let them make me a sanctuary.
Okay, now Moses had 3 principal trips that he was to go up top of this mount. And on the second trip, he saw Yahweh Elohim, and Yahweh Elohim figured into this threefold intangible tabernacle. Then he, Yahweh Elohim, had himself, then he changed from each day, showing that everything is going according to this tabernacle pattern, which is a definition of who he is. Read.
And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them.
And he said, let them, talking about the children of Israel, make me a sanctuary. Read.
That I may dwell among them.
That he may dwell among them. Read.
According to all that I showed thee.
According to all that Moses was shown in the mount. Read.
After the pattern of the tabernacle.
After the pattern of the tabernacle.
And the pattern of all the instruments thereof.
And the pattern of all the instruments therein. 40.
Even so shall ye make it. 40.
And even so shall he make it, exactly like it was shown here in the mount. Read.
40. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount.
Okay, so he had to, what was shown to him in the mount, he had to make it exactly like it was in the mount. Now, the tabernacle consists of a most holy place in the court round about. One tabernacle, testifying to the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. First Corinthians.
First Corinthians, 15th chapter.
And this is Paul speaking. Read.
Moreover, brethren,
And here we are talking about the gospel. Read.
I declare unto you the gospel.
So Paul is speaking to those in Corinth, and he is declaring the gospel. Read.
Which I preached unto you.
So
which
he had
also,
preached that unto them. Read.
Which also ye have received,
And they have received it. Read.
and wherein ye stand,
And wherein ye stand, or you believe it. Read.
by which also ye are saved,
And by this preaching of the gospel, you are saved by it.
if ye keep in memory
If you keep in memory
what I preached unto you,
what I preached unto you, and that's what we have to do. Keep in memory what was preached unto us. Read.
unless ye have believed in vain.
Unless you have believed in vain.
For I
and made it
delivered,
no use or effect. Read.
for I delivered unto you,
So now he's delivering this unto them. Read.
first of all,
Read.
that which I also received,
And Paul received it. Read.
how the Messiah died for our
And look,
sins,
and Paul was persecuting the Jews at one time. So then when he was knocked off of his donkey and was shown a vision, so now he believed what Yahweh had shown him, or Yahshua. Read.
for I delivered
So
unto you,
this is what
first of
he's
all,
delivering unto them, what he have received.
first
like
of all,
Dr.
that which I also received,
Just as Dr. Kinley received and delivered unto the people, and he believed in it, and put it on these charts. Thank you. Read.
how that the Messiah,
Go back.
for I delivered unto you, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
that which I also received,
Mm-hmm.
how that the Messiah died for our sins,
And how that the Messiah died for our sins. Read.
according to the scriptures.
According to the scripture. The first 5 books of the Bible is the law. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And the next 34 books are the testimony of the prophet. Read.
And that he was buried,
And it's to the law and to the testimony if you want to learn anything about Yahshua. You can't go nowhere else but to the law and the testimony, because they speak of Yahshua. Read.
and that he rose again
Go back.
the third day.
Go back, please.
4th verse.
Go back.
And that, how far back? Third.
Script back.
For I delivered
If you're
unto
on
you,
4, go back to 3. Where you left off. Read, please. Read it like we did it in a day. You stop, go back,
I did that.
regroup. Senior members. Okay, got it? Think it's like 3. Just go to 3.
For I delivered unto you,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, that which I also received,
Mm-hmm.
how that the Messiah died for our sins,
Mm-hmm.
according to the Scriptures,
Read.
and that he was buried,
He died. He was buried. Mm-hmm.
and that he rose again
He rose again, so he did it more than once. Read.
the third day,
The 3rd day,
according to the Scriptures.
according to the scriptures. Law and testimony. That's it, right?
And that he was seen of Cephas, then of the 12,
Okay, and that's Peter. So when he died, he rose, then he was seen by Peter and the other 12
after that he was seen of above 500 brethren at once.
that rose after him. Okay, let's go to Moses. We haven't did Moses in a long time. That's our foundation. That's what builds your faith in Yahshua the Messiah. Moses, and let's get 1. Start at 1. How they got down. Somebody's listening don't know how Israel got down in Egypt.
Exodus.
We have to tell them because they believe Cecil DeMille's version, which is not the truth. We got to give them the truth. Read, Alice.
Exodus 1,
Uh-huh.
first chapter. Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt.
Now, okay, you know how we do it.
Yeah.
Now, in this tabernacle pattern, you got a death, burial, and resurrection here. Okay, then in an ascension. So now we're going back to Moses, the story of Moses, and we're going to see, because we said that to the law and to the testimony, if they don't speak according to this word, which is Yahweh Elohim, there's no light in them. So we're going to go back and show you how the scriptures are testified to Yahshua, showing Yahshua's death, burial, and resurrection. Read, please.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel.
Excuse me. And it's not a bedtime story, like I'm gonna tell you a bedtime story, and have the bedtime books have the story of Moses and Noah, but they're not telling the truth about it. Okay, read, please.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which
Mhm.
came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob.
Okay, so Israel came with Jacob, their father. Jacob was their father. The 12 came with him. And what caused them to come down to Egypt, first of all, there was a famine in the land. And everyone that was in the Canaan land had to go down. They heard there was food in Egypt, and they had to go down. You got that going down. And the whole world went down to Egypt. And when they ran out of silver and gold, they sold themselves down here in Egypt. So you had a multitude down here, mixed multitude. Read, please.
Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For
Okay.
Joseph was in Egypt.
Joseph was already in Egypt because his brethren hated him, showing forth how Yahshua was hated, and his brethren hated him, and they said, crucify him, So now he ends up being sold in Egypt. So they put him in a pit. I was thinking about this. Somebody that had went over, was Alice, had mentioned he was put in a pit. Well, Yahshua Messiah, when he came to the earth plane, manifesting earth plane, through the loins of the Virgin Mary, this is like the pit. So Joseph was put in the pit, and then he was sold to the Amalekites, and they brought him down to Egypt. And he ended up being like the second in command after being in prison back and forth and being mistreated. And so he ended up being second in command. And because he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams of the 7 thin cows and the fat cows and all that, so he interpret Pharaoh's dreams because Jannes and Jambres couldn't do it, you know. So they end up storing up food in Egypt. So that's how the world came down to Egypt for food. So now Jacob and his 12 end up coming down because they needed food. Read. Substance. That's what we're getting down here. Substance. Spiritually. Read.
Okay.
Please.
And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and
Go
all,
back up, please.
Sure.
Get the train of thought. For me,
And
please.
all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were
Mhm.
70 souls.
Mhm.
For Joseph was in Egypt, and Joseph died,
And then
and all his
Joseph
brethren.
died at 110, just as Yahshua, when he showed up here in Egypt, he ended up dying as 110. Read.
And all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and grew
Please,
exceedingly mighty.
Please, Alice, go back. There was something I wanted
Sure.
to say.
And Joseph died,
Okay, he died. Read.
and all the brethren, and all that generation.
That generation died. Read. And that Pharaoh that put him in second in command ended up dying too. So that's how you end up with a Pharaoh that rose up that knew not Joseph.
Right.
Read.
And the children of Israel were fruitful, and
Mhm.
multiplied, and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them.
Just as, excuse me, Alice, just as Yahweh told Adam to be fruitful and multiply. Read.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Okay, because they was fruitful, so they are more and mightier than the Egyptians. Read.
Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and it come to
Let's
pass
think about. We must do something because there's too many of them. Read.
that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, so get them up out of the land.
Read.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens.
Okay, so now taskmasters were set over them. Read.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities.
So now they are building for Pharaoh his treasure cities. There's an S on the end, Alice.
Cities, Pithom and Ramesses.
Mm-hmm.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
Read.
And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they
Very hard bondage. Read.
And they made their lives bitter with hard labor in
Mhm.
mortar and in brick and in all manner of work in the field. And all their work wherein they made them serve was with rigor.
So this is a type of death and burial that they're in. And see, because Abraham was given a dream that his seed, one seed, it says seed, will go down into a land that knew not, was not theirs. So, read.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew wives.
Excuse me. I'm just going to give it to you like Yahshua was bringing it. Now, he says his seed will go down into a land that knew not theirs. A seed, you put it in the dirt. Now, Alice always talk about a garden. And it grows and it multiplies. And that's what it's showing. Read.
And he said, when ye do the office of the midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon their birth stools, if it be a son, then thou shalt kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Now see, during the time of Joshua, when he was a babe, the same request came out that the babies of 2 and under, right, had to die. This is back here in the law. And Joshua fulfilled that. Read.
But the midwives feared Elohim, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them.
So evidently, Danielle, they must have heard about El Shaddai because they didn't know his name, because Moses was the only one that was given Yahweh's name. So evidently they heard about him, Kim, for them to fear Elohim. They heard about him somewhere down the line. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob testified to the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit. Read.
But the midwives feared Elohim and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children alive.
They could have lost their lives, but they did not do what Pharaoh said, the king of Pharaoh said. They feared Yahweh, and that's what we have to do, and not in a sense of scariness, a sphere of respect. Read.
And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are active, and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them.
Read.
Therefore Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he prospered their households. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river.
Now he want to cast them into the river. Read.
And every daughter ye shall save alive.
Read.
Chapter 2. And there went a man of the house of Levi.
Okay, so here's this man of the house of Levi. Read.
And took to wife a daughter of Levi.
Read.
And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein.
Okay, he was put in the ark that was dabbed with slime and pitch, just like this ark was dabbed with slime and pitch as well, slime and pitch. And he was put in that ark. Read.
And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink.
Death, burial. Read.
And his sister stood afar off to find out what would be done to him.
We always talk about how they must have worked in Pharaoh's household for her to be able to stand by like that and put him in that ark. Read.
And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river.
Okay, so she washes herself. Why? This Egypt was a polytheistic society, and everything was a god to them. And this river, she believed if she bathed in it, that it would fertile her. Read.
And her maidens walked along by the river's side, and when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maiden to fetch it.
Read.
And when she had opened it, she saw the child.
So she believed that the Nile River had gave her this child. Read.
And behold, the boy wept.
Death, burial, and she takes the child. That's a resurrection. Read. And the baby wept, just as Joshua fulfilled, because that's what he did. Joshua wept. Read.
And she had compassion on him, and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children.
And she knew he was a Hebrew child. Read.
Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman
she got
took
paid
the child
to take care of her own child. Read.
And the woman took the child and nursed it.
Read.
And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter. and he became to her as a son. And she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water.
Read.
And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens,
So-
and he saw an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew.
So he knew he was a Hebrew. So he went among his brethren. Read.
One of his brethren.
A Hebrew, and an Egyptian, quarreling, fighting. Read.
And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand.
Read. Death, burial, but he did not what? Resurrect. Read.
And when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews were quarreling. And he said unto him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian?
So he had been known. He'd seen somebody saw him kill that Egyptian. Read.
And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
Read.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and
So-
dwelt in the land of Midian.
Death, burial, now a resurrection because he fled from Egypt. Read.
And sat down by a well.
Okay, so now he's in the land of Midian. 3rd chapter. Read, please.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of Elohim, even to Horeb. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush.
By this time, Moses had married the eldest daughter of Jethro, Ruel, so he became a shepherd, just as Yahshua the Messiah in the 10th chapter of John reads how he is the good shepherd. Read. Fulfilling that.
And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, and the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
So Moses was seeing a vision. And he looked. Read it again, please.
Sure.
He looked.
And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Read.
And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight.
So he didn't physically turn aside. He turned away his carnal thinking. Read.
Why this bush does not burn.
Read.
And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses.
So he knew his name. Read.
And he said, Here am I.
Yep, Yahweh know all of our names. Read. So that's when Yahshua is dealing with you. He can call you by your name, and you can answer to him. Read.
And he said, Draw not nigh hither.
Don't go and come no further. Read.
Put off thy shoes from off thy feet,
Read.
for the place wherein thou stand is holy ground.
Because this ground is holy, and you got to pull off your shoes. No, he's in the presence of Yahweh Elohim. Read. And on the
Moreover,
bottom of our feet, we have what we call soul.
Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob.
So he's telling Moses who he is because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob talked about El Shaddai. That's how the children of Israel feared Yahweh Elohim, because it was rehearsed through generations. Read.
And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt,
He's seen. Read.
and I've heard their cry by
And
reason.
he heard. Read. So
Heard
you
their
have an
cry.
Elohim that can see, and you have an Elohim that can hear. Now, children of Israel, when they want to be like those other nations, building idols, So Yahshua is read where it's talked about, well, their gods can't hear, can't see, they're dumb, you know. So here we have an Elohim that can hear, that can see, that can fight for us. Read.
And have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters.
And he's hearing our cry. But it's appointed time before he make his move. Read.
For I know their sorrows.
And he know their sorrows, just like he know ours. Read.
And I am come down to deliver them.
And he have come down, so he's already there. So he can astral project himself. You know, he can be here at this bush, and he's down there in Egypt. Now, there was a man, Oshia, just appeared down here in Egypt. Read. See, just appeared down here in Egypt. Like right now. He's walking around. He's here. I was talking to a co-worker. You got people that know about Yahweh. So I invited her to class. She said her dad, you know, she came out with it. So if you listen sometime and hear what people are talking about, you know, and she said that Jesus, well, she started out with Jesus, then she said Yahshua, well, they pronounce it kind of different, people pronounce it kind of different. That he's coming back. These are the last days and he's coming back. Where Yahshua is already here. That's why I like to sing that song. People still looking for Yahshua or whoever they believe in to come. See, if Yahshua left us alone with Satan and his demons, we could not stand and survive. He's the one that's fighting our fight. He's the one that got the angels surrounding us. So every step we walk, we are being protected. He can't leave us. See, back here in Acts, when Yahshua, what he did was it said a cloud covered him. So he just disappeared. He didn't go up in the sky, in the moon. He just, because he's spirit now. So he just disappeared, but he's still here. But he's in the hearts and mind of men because he poured out his Holy Spirit. Read.
And I am come down to deliver them.
See, we're blessed, even though we come down here and look like we look, like we don't want to be bothered, whatever. We are blessed to be able to understand and know this truth, and to go repeat it I don't have a problem with repeating it, going back over Moses or whatever. It does something great for me. Mm-hmm. Read.
And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians.
He's going to deliver, and and the thing of it is, Yahweh do exactly what he say that he would do. He's going to deliver. Read.
And to bring them up out of that land unto a good land.
Into a good land.
And a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey.
Now this land, this is the land, Canaan's land, that he promised Abraham that his seed would come back to. Because Abraham was already up here. So he called him out of Chaldean, from his kin people. And because they were worshiping idols. So when you have the 12th chapter of Revelation, where there was a war in heaven, and Michael was fighting, and he kicked out Satan and his angels from heaven. Well, we got that going on here, because when the children of Israel crossed over, and when the Jordan River parted and they crossed over, well, Yahweh told Yahshua to kill all those nations up there. So he went up there. Michael is a type of Yahshua, fighting. So he went up here with Israel, and they fought these other nations up there. but he did leave some up to be a thorn in their side. Read. So he killed off like the Hittites and the Jerusalemites and the Perizzites and all the Ikes and all of that, meaning Jansen had talked to us a long time ago and looked up those names and how they mean hatred and malice and strife and all of that. See, in here, we don't want that in here. This in our most holy place. There's no place for hatred and malice and strife. We will be left here if you keep it up. You got to let it go. Are you going right on to the lake because of being disobedient? We were called out of the world, but we can't be disobedient. Read. It's beautiful.
And a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites.
Okay, and all those nations, that's what they went up and with Joshua and killed out. He said even the babies and the old people, kill them all. Why? You leave an enemy behind and he'll just rise up and you know. Why a child? Parents, they do what their parents, what they see and what they're taught. So if they are taught as a child to worship idols, you got to go. Read.
Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
Okay, so now, I know time is winding up. Moses had to go back down to Egypt. By this time, he is about 80 years old. He'd have to go right back down to Egypt. And he didn't want to go because he knew what had happened when he fled from Egypt, how he killed a man. And Pharaoh was out, sought to kill him. But after he received Yahweh's name, see, it's the name. That's why it is important to know and learn Yahweh's name because it's powerful. Okay, Yahweh, Elohim, and Yahshua are one, but he exists in three states and conditions. He is operating in three states and conditions. Now, Yahweh is not something to be played with. He is a consuming fire in the state and condition. He is fire, energy. And back here with the children of Israel, when they was disobedient, he opened up the earth and swallowed up like thousands of them, 10,000s of them. He went on and killed up nations. He don't play. But see, in his state and condition as Joshua, he's merciful, giving us a chance. Giving us a chance for salvation for our soul. Read. Because remember, when Yahweh got mad with Israel, he was going to kill them, and Moses was warned to intercede between the people and Yahweh, and fell on his face. Please don't kill them, because those nations say you didn't do what you said you was going to do. But Yahweh was kindled, But he got, in this state and condition, we are thankful for Yahshua giving us mercy. Mercy. Read.
And Moses said unto Elohim, who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, certainly I will be with thee.
He said, certainly I will be with you. We have to believe that.
Yes.
Yahshua will be with us. I got 5 minutes. Alice, please get where he talked about in Exodus about the dung, because Moses said, well, why me? Why you send me? I'm eloquent of speech. I'm not eloquent of speech. All right. He's not a great speaker, in other words. Why you send me? And Yahweh said, who made, read,
4
Alan.
and 10. And Moses said unto Yahweh, But, O Yahweh, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue.
Slow of speech and of a slow tongue. I'm slow of speech and a slow tongue, but I can give you something to say. Give you something concerning Yahshua the Messiah. Something can come out that makes sense to you. It get tongue twisted, you know, and everything. And the tongue is very important. I found out when I got my tongue pierced, and then I took it out because the job at that time was having a fit about people having piercing. And where it was pierced, now it causes, it's like you got to relearn how to say S words again. Tongue is very important for speech and how it rolls around with the R when you say use R, words with R and all of that. It's very important. Everything that Yahweh made in his physical body is important. And it is made to be used really for him. Speak, preaching the gospel. That's what our tongue is really need to be used for. Testifying to Yahshua the Messiah. Read, not saying profanity. You got kids on the bus. I'm driving, all of a sudden I just heard this horrible word. And when I got through talking to him, he was crying. We got to be better than this. You can't be saying filthy words like that. You can't do it. And then parents got to be mindful of their children and what they do and what they say. That's the way it was when I was growing up. Read, I got 2 minutes.
And
Read.
Yahweh said unto him, Who hath made man's mouth?
Who have made man's mouth? Because we know back here with Adam, Yahweh made Adam out of the dust of the earth. And everything living was in Adam. All living organism came from, all of us came from Adam. Adam. He made Adam. Who have made what?
Man's mouth.
Man's mouth. Read.
Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind?
Read.
Have not I Yahweh?
Have not I Yahweh? Yahweh Elohim created everything. Day 1 to 7th day. And on the 6th day, he created man. And he created man just like this to likeness the image of himself. And this is what Yahweh Elohim created. This is what man looked like. And this is the organs and the bones that function within the man. He made man. Read. His mouth, his eyes, his ears. Read.
Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say.
Okay, talk about Aaron. I got a minute and a half. You got Aaron?
Him bringing his,
when he meets him.
yes.
See, Yahweh worked things out. We got to see. We be worrying about our what we can't do, what we are not good at, and we don't want to do anything because we feel like we can't. We're not good at it. But Yahweh, if we believe and trust in Yahshua, He will step up, Danielle, and talk for us, because He done. I experienced that. He will talk for me, for you, and everybody. He will cause you to hear what you need to hear. Read.
27. And Yahweh said unto Aaron, Go into the wilderness to meet Moses.
So He's sending Aaron, his brother, because Aaron can do the talking. Somebody always in office have a spokesperson, somebody to speak for them. Read, and I'll be down.
And Moses told Aaron all the words of Yahweh, who had sent him, and all the signs which he had commanded him. And Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. And Aaron spake all the words which Yahweh had spoken unto Moses, and
Aaron
did the
spake.
signs
Did the
in the
sign.
sight of the people.
So they
And the-
went down. And they went down, Moses and Aaron went down to Egypt. And he took Yahweh's name, which devastated Egypt. Every plague represented a god for Egypt. And Yahweh destroyed each and every one of them. And they heard about it in Canaan's land, Rahab. We heard about what Yahweh did. Didn't have a telephone, didn't have a telegraph, didn't have a computer, didn't have a cell phone, but they heard how Yahweh devastated Egypt with his name.
Right.
The name is powerful. It's not a name that you just learn physically. It's a name that you learn and experience with. And with that, hallelujah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Tripp. Our next speaker for this evening will be the dean of our school, Dr. Terry Welch. Thank you. Okay. Well, good evening, good evening. I enjoyed that. I hope you did too. And I want to say I'm really glad to be able to be here, to be able to see those of you that are here, and to have you here. It's important and it's powerful for the brethren to come together. And, you know, where that happens, then Yahweh's Spirit being in you comes together and it does what, in a word, is synergize. You know what I mean by that? In other words, you know, everything gets better than it was all separate, you know. And it's even more than just adding on, things are multiplied. So that's very important, and it's very good, and I'd like to encourage all the brethren to actually physically come to class and share, be here, and glad to see you here. I did just want to mention just a couple things and move into some doctrinal things, but I have not had a chance for several classes to be here, and that may be true for a number of classes throughout the month, depending on schedules and so forth. You know, might have to do something at different times, but whenever possible, I want to and I am here with you physically and spiritually. And it's an important thing to be here. Now, I know I've said that, but, you know, when Yahweh got Moses up here, he told Moses to come up in the mountain and to be there, you know. And it's important to be here or be there. And that's in order to commune with Him and by the Spirit. Now, Dr. Tripp had gone back and gone into some good fundamentals and things pertaining to the Scriptures and Moses. And I'll mention this real quick. I want to move on because what she mentioned here, when she was talking about Aaron having to go out here, meet Moses, And then the two of them came on down together. Now that's like the law and the testimony coming on down. And the law and the testimony was actually in Yahshua the Messiah. So he's the fulfillment. That's three, but in one. In other words, being one. The law, the prophets, and so forth. Moses was in Yahshua, so to speak. Now, reason I bring that up is that fulfills when they went back down here. Remember, Yahweh had told Moses at the burning bush, he said, "Come now into Egypt," which means Yahshua was already in Egypt. He says, "Come now, therefore, and then," he says, "I will send you unto Pharaoh." Okay? So in other words, he had to come there and meet with him. And so you've got a picture here that Dr. Kinley had on here of Yahshua's tent in the land of Egypt and Moses and Aaron meeting with Yahshua. So that's Moses, Aaron, and Yahshua in one tent. Moses, Aaron, and Yahshua, or the law, the testimony, and the fulfillment in one tent. So in other words, Yahshua always had Moses and Aaron with him. Now, part of what occurred to me, and I don't know if y'all remember this, but I remember watching this and it impressed me however many years ago. When did the first Star Wars movie come out? 1977. She knows exactly when it was. That was a while back. Oh, right. Okay, y'all remember, you all may remember the two androids. C-3PO, right, and R2-D2. Now, R2-D2 was the one that was programmed and had the vision. He had the vision in him. But R2-D2 could not speak in a way that was understood. So he paired him up with C-3PO, and C-3PO just, had just, right? Just loved it. And he was so eloquent of speech and so proper and prim and everything he would say, and he loved to speak. So, in other words, he should have been taking directions from R2, which sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't do so well, right? And then express those things. And that's exactly what happened with Moses. And Yahweh told Moses back here, you could go back and read it, it's back there in the same place in Exodus. He said to Moses, he said, well, Aaron, your brother, he can speak well. I know he can speak well, and I've already sent him out here. See, Yahweh already knew. You want to read it? If you got it handy, go ahead and do that.
4 and 14. And I'm sorry. It's 3 and 14.
Yes.
It's 3. Okay, I'm
4
sorry.
and 14.
4:14. Okay.
And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Moses. And he said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother?
Uh-huh.
I know that he can speak well.
See, he says, I know. Right? Now, of course, Yahweh knows everything. You're down sitting, you're uprising, and so forth. But there's a couple of places there, in the 3rd chapter and now again in the 4th chapter, where he says, I know. Meaning I've experienced. Okay? Because back there earlier, he says about the children of Israel. He says, I have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters. For I know their sorrows. And I am come down. In other words, I'm there. Okay? And he says, I'm come down to deliver them out of the land of Egypt. In other words, I'm not sending you to do the job, Moses. I'm there. I want to have you involved with this, but I'm the one making it happen. You see what I'm saying? All right, go ahead and read. Yeah. Go ahead.
4 and 14.
Uh-huh.
And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Moses, and he said, Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee.
Okay?
And when
He's already on his way out there to meet you, Moses. Well, if that was the case, and Yahweh's just now talking with Moses about it, see, Yahweh knew what was going to happen. He knew what Moses was going to object to before he ever spoke to him. And he'd already solved the problem. You understand what I'm saying? He had it covered before the situation appeared to be a problem. Yahweh does not have to make up solutions to a problem.
Right.
He's already, right, as he goes. That's right. He's already got it taken care of. That's true here in the Garden of Eden. Yahweh Elohim knew Adam was going to transgress. And it's implicit in the commandment that he gave to Adam to start with. Okay? He says, in the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. He didn't say, if you eat thereof, you will die. He says, in the day you do it. Make sense? Now, there's also, and I can get these scriptures, but you read over in Revelation about the Lamb of Yahweh slain from the foundation of the world, right? Now, that Lamb of Yahweh was Yahshua the Messiah, and being slain from the foundation of the world, now that don't mean he shed his blood, and it required him coming in and shedding his blood. But I want to give you a specific point. He already had made the preparations for atoning for sin. You understand what I'm saying? Now, you look at how this chart is made. Who's this? That's Adam sitting up there, right, in the garden. And he's going to end up partaking of the tree. What's above his head? That lamb is a symbol of Yahshua. And the lamb is covering Adam. The Lamb of Yahweh had Adam covered. Yahweh Elohim, Yahshua, already had Adam covered. Adam was obedient even in his disobedience. Okay? Now what I mean is this. He was disobedient to Yahweh's commandment, but he was obedient to Yahweh's will. And furthermore, he was obedient to the commission that Yahweh had given Adam before he gave him the commandment. He gave Adam a job to do with the blessing. He said, he blessed Adam, he said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule over it. Now, if Eve transgresses and has to leave the garden, and she's the only somebody up there except Adam, then Adam is not going to be able to be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, rule over it, if Eve leaves and he stays. So Yahweh imbued within Adam instinctively sufficient love that what he did was sacrifice himself for Eve. In other words, she's going to eat, he's going to eat too. And he knew the consequences. Now that's what it means when it says Adam was not deceived. The woman being deceived is in the transgression. See, she didn't understand. She didn't fully appreciate the consequences. Because Satan came, gave her a different idea. He said, oh, you won't surely die. He's contradicting what Yahweh Elohim taught. Yahweh Elohim said, you will surely die. Satan said, you won't surely die. The woman believed it. So she was deceived. Now, there's another aspect of this. Neither Adam nor Eve knew by practical experience what death was. There was a word, you understand what I'm saying? But there was no experience of death at that point. And so they ended up needing to experience death in order to experience resurrection from death. Okay? So now anyway, Adam is covered by Yahweh Elohim, by Yahshua, to start with, meaning that Yahweh had already prepared to take care of the needs that were there with Adam and to raise Adam from the dead. It wasn't done yet. It was not done until here. And again, Dr. Kinley makes all that clear, even the timing of it. Adam lived 930 years and died. Yahshua was put on the cross at 9, raised his 300th part of the day. That fulfills the 930. So where Adam fell, Yahshua raised. And because he's the second Adam, and he is fulfilling Adam, then in Yahshua, all are made alive. You understand what I'm saying? Including Adam. So, this is when he actually achieved the resurrection or the salvation, but he had it planned before the transgression ever took place. That's why I'm saying Yahweh don't have to go along and make up solutions to the problem as he goes along. He's already got it handled by his plan. His purpose is already planned out, the problem and the solution. See what I'm saying? All right. All right, now, so I wanted to mention that. Now, you go back here, and then you continue reading on. I want to get down to some other things, if possible. Yeah, wherever right there in Exodus 4:14 where you were reading.
And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against Moses. And he said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother?
And I guess I'm sorry, I got to stop and mention something because it's important. I'll just leave it at that. Yahweh was not out of line to be angry with Moses. Now, he already knew what Moses was going to do, and he had already taken care of the problem that would have been, in principle, caused by what Moses was going to say and do, right? But he's still angry. And he got every right to be angry. And then he's got every right to abate his anger. You understand what I'm saying? And people don't seem to understand certain things about Yahweh. A lot of things. Go ahead and read.
Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well.
So could C3PO. R2 couldn't, C3PO could. Great pair. Go ahead and read.
And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. When he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart.
And that's what had to happen with the robots. The two robots, they had to get together in order for the salvation to take place. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth.
All right, now Moses, I'm going to talk to you. And then you're going to talk to Aaron. And then Aaron is going to talk to the rest of the folks. See what I'm saying? Read on.
And I will be with thy mouth, and with his mouth.
Now, and I'm still going to handle it. You're going to do it, but I'm going to make it happen. Yahweh's the cause. He's the ultimate source. The substance, limits, and bounds of all things. He's working today the same way he was. And you're talking about the fact sometimes you recognize Yahweh just speaking in you or through you, if you want to call it that way. Go ahead and read.
And will teach you what ye shall do.
And I'm going to teach you what you shall do. So right back here, he's the teacher. So when he comes on down into fulfillment, that's Yahshua the Messiah, he's the rabbi, he's the teacher, and he says, well, I'm going to give you another comforter or counselor or teacher, which is the Holy Spirit. So now he's got the same one. So in the institution back here, in the fulfillment down here with Yahshua, in the spiritual fulfillment after the cross. Same principle. Go ahead and read.
And he shall be thy spokesman unto the people.
Yep.
And shall be to thee instead of a mouth.
Now, Aaron is going to be to you instead of a mouth. Go ahead.
And thou shalt be to him instead of Elohim.
And you are going to be to him instead of Elohim. Do you see that? Now, in reality, what happened was, and I'm not sure exactly where it's at, and I don't necessarily, unless you know where it's at. He told Moses, he was going to make Moses a god to the people. And that was absolutely within Yahweh's plan. And the people ended up not being able to see past Moses. You understand what I'm saying? Now I'm going to illustrate this to you. I hadn't really intended to spend this degree of time on it, but it's worth it. Now I'm explaining that Yahweh Elohim as Yahshua the Son of Nun is the one making this happen. Okay? But he's got Moses out there as the front man. And the people, even though Yahshua was there, the people don't really recognize where it's coming from. They think it's Moses. You understand? Now, here's why. And it's really fairly simple when you read and recognize what was going on. Go to Exodus 13, I think it's about 10, then 23, 20. And I'm going to also want, please, if you will, I want Exodus 19, oh my goodness, 8, I believe it is. And there's some other places. I wish I could give you exact, yeah. Go ahead and read.
Exodus 13 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in its season.
That's what I thought. That's not exact. It's in there where it says Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud.
That's 14 and...
Well, it's there
13
also.
13 and 21.
All right, go ahead. That's fine. That'll do.
And Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud.
Right.
To lead them the way.
Now, hold on a minute. It's illustrated on the chart, so I want you to get a visual. Now, they're coming out of the land of Egypt, and they have to follow this cloud, okay? Now, it says there Yahweh is the one that went before them by day in the pillar of a cloud. Now, look, that cloud, folks, was a thick, dark, sooty appearing cloud. It was a cloud of darkness and thick darkness, which we'll read later on if we can find the exact verses.
Exodus 19 and 9.
Which is Exodus in 19, and she's got the 9th verse. Go ahead and read there, and you'll see.
And Yahweh said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud.
All right, now, listen to this. Yahweh's explaining something to Moses at this point. Yahweh's already been taking care of this, but now he's got to explain something to Moses. Because Moses has a role to play, and Yahweh's not just keeping Moses dumb. He told him, I'll teach you. Now, that don't mean everybody else is going to understand what Moses understands, which is also in the Bible. Because it says over there, and I think it's Psalms 103 and 7, where it says he made his ways known unto Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel. The children of Israel experienced what Yahweh did, his actions. Moses understood why. And the only reason Moses understood why is because Yahweh Elohim had showed it to him, explained it to him, because he's having Moses go ahead and play his role and do his job. And Moses understands Yahweh's entirely behind everything that's going on, including making Moses a god in front of the people. And here's the other thing. human nature, which is satanic nature. Anytime you got someone that ends up appearing to be in a higher, more powerful position, you got folks that are also just plain, what's the word, jealous. Envious, right? Now this is part of what happened. Okay, and it gets back to the C-3PO and R2-D2 and the whole shot. All of this was in the movie back in 1977. I watched that movie and I went, oh my goodness. Did you see that? Did you see that? It's, you know what I'm saying? And of course, people who wrote the movie had no clue. But anyway, now, Aaron ended up getting terribly jealous of Moses. Now, that was a problem that Aaron had had all the way on through. See, this goes back. See, there's a story. There's always a story behind the story. Moses always has been privileged in Aaron's eyes. You know what I'm saying? And Aaron's jealous. First of all, Aaron's older than Moses. He's supposed to have the birthright, be the boss of the family. He's 3 years older than Moses, right? And when you get down to it and look at it, there's almost no other way of explaining things that happen other than recognizing this also. Aaron, by the time Moses comes back down in the land of Egypt, Aaron is in an incredibly powerful and influential position in Egypt. You can call him like a speaker of the house. Yeah, what are you going to say? Yeah, right. Aaron will be glad to see absolutely. Absolutely. Because at this time, Aaron now is in a great position and he expects now to be honored by his brother Moses. And he was glad to see him, his brother. And here's the other thing. The last time he saw Moses, Moses had saved his life. Aaron was the brother of Moses that Moses had defended from the Egyptian that was smiting the Hebrew, one of Moses' brothers. That was Aaron. And Moses had saved Aaron's life. That was the last time he saw him, other than the following day when Aaron fronted him off. You understand? But now, at this point, they go back down the land of Egypt. Look, all of us, how is it Moses could go right back down into Egypt and walk up into the palace of Pharaoh and then walk right on back out and speak to all the leaders of the children of Israel? You follow me? And just say, go where he wants, say what he wants to whomever he wants. But you see, what you don't understand is the people saw Aaron doing it. That's what he told him here. He says, Moses, I'll speak to you. You speak to Aaron. Aaron speak to the people. So Moses is going up there. Now what the people see is the press secretary of the Hebrews unto the Egyptians. And Moses, his brother, is tagging along. Moses don't look too hot. They're looking at the dressed up C-3PO. You understand what I'm saying? Not the little R2-D2. You get the point? And Aaron, man, he's got it going on. He thinks. You get the point? And the only reason he's in that position is because Yahweh has pre-prepared that. Okay? All right. So now, they're real happy. They get out of the land of Egypt, right? And they don't get out there too long. Aaron and his sister. Miriam, the one that had put him in the ark, in the flags of the river, as a new baby. Aaron and Miriam start acting up. They're jealous of Moses. And look, they're getting plenty of support from some of the other Levites. Right? Oh, Moses, you take too much on yourself. Moses took nothing on himself. Yahweh had already told Moses that all Moses is doing is exactly what he's told. You know, there's a little event that I've heard about. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was. But apparently, I'm trying to remember who it was in Springfield. A woman, anyway, one day went to class, saw Dr. Kinley. And she said, "Hi, Dr. Kinley, how you doing?" He said, "As I'm told." In other words, people think, oh, Dr. Kinley thought he was hot stuff. He could heal folks. He could prophesy. He could explain anything in the Bible. He thinks he's something. He was doing exactly as he was told. You follow me? And it's exactly what happened. See, you come to realize eventually it's Yahweh making it happen. He's playing all the instruments through other people. I don't mean he's just out of the sky, and I don't mean people are zombies, mindless. I don't mean that. Not at all. But it's like he told, yeah, right. And it's just like he told Moses, he says, I'll teach you. Well, Yahweh's able to teach folks. And this is why I really appreciate when people have specific skills. There are certain things people can do so far much better than I can. I go, man, I tell you what, I never even come close to that. But my response is not, I'm jealous. I'm very appreciative of that. And if there's any way we can hook up what you can do with what you can do and you can do and get the whole thing organized, it's what I said at the beginning of class, you come together and it synergizes. Anyway, there's a higher level of vibration, a higher energy, a greater effect. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts as individuals. Okay? In other words, if I had all the parts to a beautiful engine, okay, one that's going to turn out 1,000 horsepower, and I had all the parts, and I threw all those parts in a box, I would have all the parts of an engine. Right? So what? Put it together. Follow me? Fire it up. Now you got something. And it's the boss that knows how to put it together. It's Yahweh that knows how to put it together because He designed it. And He can fine-tune that baby. Okay? That's what He's doing with the teaching. And every member of His body. Anyway, all right. So I wanted to try to get to the point the way it's illustrated in the Scripture. So you're going to read Exodus 19. Please go ahead there.
Exodus 19:9.
Yep.
And Yahweh said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever.
Right.
And Moses...
Now, in that thick cloud, obviously, Yahweh's in that cloud, but if He's in that thick cloud, and if you read there a little bit later, the sight of the glory of Yahweh on Mount Sinai was like devouring fire, darkness, clouds, thick darkness in the sight of the children of Israel. Meaning this, that was a smoke screen. The children of Israel could not see anything in that cloud. They couldn't see any shape and form. You understand what I'm saying? And it says that in the Bible. It says they heard His voice, but they saw no similitude, which means no shape and form. But Moses was told, get you up into the mount, be there. Follow me? And the similitude of Yahweh shall he behold. Do you understand the difference? But the people didn't know that. Now, they're going to see some events, and for the sake of time, I'm going to have to, unless you know the verses, I'm going to have to just kind of narrate through this. Find it right there in Exodus 19 is one of the places where it says the glory of Yahweh descended upon Mount Sinai. I want you to find that. There's about 3 or 4 places where that expression is used in the Bible, like in Exodus 16, he appeared, and then, but I want you to see where it says he descended on the mountain, and there's other places where he descended.
And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and Elohim answered him by a voice, and Yahweh came down upon Mount Sinai.
Yahweh came down upon Mount Sinai.
On the top of the mount.
Yep.
And Yahweh called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up.
Okay. All right.
18th verse.
Yeah.
Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke.
Yes.
Because Yahweh descended upon it in a fire.
So Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke because Yahweh descended on it in fire. That's the same fire that was here at the burning bush. That's the angel of Yahweh in the flame of fire. This angel of Yahweh in the flame of fire here, but now he's smoking. You understand what I'm saying? And the people can't see this because the smoke, the cloud covers it. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? All right, and you found the 33 and 9 is another place. Yes, and that's a good one to read. Now, this one is very important, it's very relevant, and it's depicted on the chart. You see this tent here on the backside of Mount Sinai? That tent is that tent. This is Joshua's tent in Egypt. He took his tent out here when they went into the wilderness of Sinai. Now, after the people ticked off Yahweh, right, I could use other language, but you get the point. After Yahweh was angry with the people for transgressing, okay, what Moses did, and you can read it in there, was he pitched the tabernacle of the congregation afar off from the camp on the backside of the mount. Okay? This is where the tent of the congregation was. It's Joshua's tent. Now, it don't say that in the Bible, but I can prove it to you. If I get a chance, I'll do it. The people are out here. They're not just running up here. This is Yahweh's holy mountain. And his tent's pitched here. Now, Yahweh is up on top of the mountain, okay? Generally speaking, like at night, okay? And at night, I'm sorry, this was another place back there. I think it's way back in Exodus 13 again, and then others. But it says, Yahweh went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud, and by night in a pillar of fire, to lead them by day and by night. Right? He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night. Now, when they got out here, they camped, and Yahweh would be on top of this mountain, a pillar of fire, and that was their night light. That was their street light. You understand what I'm saying? This is important. I'm not being flippant about this. Okay? These people, for the 40 years in the wilderness, are never in darkness. Now, there's waning and waxing light, but they're never in darkness. Yahweh considered the period of time that they're in there as simply 1 hour or 1 day. Okay? Which that takes some more explanation. Because Yahshua said something about no man knows the day or the hour. But that's the day or the hour. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now 40 years calculates out as 1 day or 1 hour. You understand what I'm saying? They're here for 40 years and they're in the light. Anyway, all right, so I hope you got that. So Yahweh's here on the mountain. Let me ask you a question. I want you to see Yahshua fulfilling. Where did Yahshua go at night? He went up into the mountain, didn't he? And when you take your camp up in the mountain, okay, and it's cool up there in the mountain at night, what do you do? You fire. And Yahshua's got his 12 disciples, fulfilling these 12 tribes, they're gathered around the campfire. And Yahshua's speaking to them. And he's speaking to them and he's explaining to them the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. That's what it says in the Bible. Now, in the daytime, he comes on down the mountain. He goes into the temple and he speaks to the people in the temple and around the city, and he speaks to people in parables. Now, I'm telling you, these people knew Yahweh's acts. But Moses was up here in the mountain and Yahweh taught him and made him know his ways. So he's taken the disciples aside after they've seen him talking to the rest of the folks out in here, out in the city in the temple, during the day speaking in parables. And they say, Master, why do you speak unto them in parables? In other words, why don't you just come out and say what you mean? Which he was saying what he meant. What, did the mic go? So Yahshua's up there in the mountains at night, and he's going to explain the parables to his disciples. You follow me? Just like he takes Moses up here in the mountain, and he's explaining to him all the stuff that's going on, including his own words that he spoke from Mount Sinai as the law. So forth, right? So Yahshua is fulfilling. And he's there, and they see him in the campfire, and he's explaining things. Moses sees Yahshua in this fire, because that glory of Yahweh is like devouring fire. That's what it says. This is Yahweh's glory. And he is like devouring fire. Okay? All right, now, Exodus 23. Yeah, go ahead and read that. And go ahead and read that part.
Behold, I send an angel before thee.
Now he says, behold, I send an angel before you. This one is on. This one is on. All right. All right. He said, behold, I send an angel before you.
To keep thee in the way.
To keep you, Israel, in the way. Go ahead.
And to bring thee unto a place which I have prepared.
And I'm going to use him to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Notice it's already prepared. Mm-hmm. It's already prepared. And Yahshua said the kingdom of heaven was prepared for them from the foundation of the world. And I can tell you how he prepared it. He cast out the demons. Satan and his demon. That's how he prepared it. No, I'm serious. That's the way it's in the Bible.
Beautiful.
Anyway, go ahead and read.
Beware of him.
Beware of this angel.
And obey his voice.
Obey his voice.
Provoke him not.
Don't upset him.
For he will not pardon your transgression.
It's not his job to pardon your transgression, and he ain't doing it. Now, in the fulfillment, he will.
For my name is
But back here, he's not in the pardoning business. Okay? And he says, for my name is in this angel. The name Yahweh is in Yahshua. Yahshua the Son of Nun, Yahshua the Messiah. I'm coming in my Father's name, fulfilling my name is in him. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead and read.
For if thou shalt indeed obey his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies, and an adversary unto thine adversaries.
All right, we're running out of time here. Now, So here's the main thing I was just trying to get at was the way Yahweh was operating back here. He, as Yahshua, was running the show. Nobody but Moses understood that. Some people got some glimpses of certain things, but they didn't get it. You understand what I'm saying? And so, I tell you, the principle is the same today. It was the same when he fulfilled it as when he instituted it. You follow me? Even Yahshua said, I am my own self. I can do what? Nothing. But it's the Father in me that does the works. Right? Paul basically was talking about the same thing with respect to himself. Okay? And I hope we recognize that that's the same thing that's going on now. Okay? And can see it. I hope that the veil has been taken away. See? For us. Anyway, praise Yahshua the Messiah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Welsh. That brings a close to our class for this evening. Are there any comments or questions? Indeed. All right. Announcements are as follows. Classes are held every Wednesday and Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. and Sundays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. All workshops are held the first 4 Sundays of each month, and they begin at 9 a.m. And our after-class question and answer period is the third Friday of each month. I think that's next Friday. The school is supported by its members. Pledges are due at the beginning of each month, and donations are welcomed and greatly appreciated. For either one, please see our treasurer. And from the Office of Public Relations, you can now view our class on YouTube. You can also contact us at Facebook, WordPress, and Twitter. All donations for our streaming project are greatly appreciated. That concludes our announcements for this evening. Oh, there is a choir rehearsal Sunday after class, right? After class here? All right, choir rehearsal Sunday. Let us all rise for the doxology so that we may be dismissed. I will be quoting the last 2 verses of the book of Jude from the Holy Name Bible. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power, both before all time and now and ever. Let us all say, Hallelujah.
Caught up in a world they say happened by chance. They wanna believe that it's all in their hands. They try to convince me they shape their own destinies. But if they knew Yah like I know Yah, They get down on their knees. Yes, if they knew ya like I know ya, they get down on their knees. They don't know he's in complete control. Elohim is running his show, yeah. He's in complete control. Elohim is running his show. Freedom of choice is the law they're spreading around. Divine intervention is nice if God is ever around. They don't wanna believe their every step was patterned by him, that he's got it wrapped up tight, line upon line. They're going back to spirit again. He's got it wrapped up tight, line upon line. They're going back to spirit again. They don't know he's in complete control. Elohim is running his show. He's in complete control. Elohim is running his show. He's Alpha, Omega, Almighty Creator, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Alpha and Omega, Almighty Creator, first cause of creation, the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Of the world. You see, he told Jeremiah, I made you a prophet long before this earth had shape without form, before it was void. Yeah. He said, I possessed your ways before I made the deep blue sea. I am the cause, the reason for it all, and all I had to do was speak. Yes, I am the cause, the reason for it all.